Hey, it's Jessica DaMassa with WTF Health. I'm here at AHIP's Consumer Experience and Digital Health Forum, and joining me right now, I have Brian Lobley. He is the Executive Vice President of Health Markets for Independence Blue Cross, and Don Mathis. He's the General Manager of Growth for Comcast NBCUniversal. So welcome, guys. Good to have you here. Thanks for being here. All right, so I mean, this partnership, when it was announced, was a big deal. I mean, there were a lot of people who were like, oh my goodness, really? Comcast NBCUniversal and Independence? What are they going to do? So what have you guys decided to do?
So we've decided to change healthcare. I think it's pretty.
Oh, just that? Is that it?
Yeah.
No, just that.
So,
it's pretty simple.
You know, we honestly, we've been talking for a couple of years. Comcast is our largest customer for Independence Blue Cross. So during the conversations about figuring out what we can do together, we figured, wait a minute, instead of us investing in other companies and actually giving them our lives to manage, why don't we do something together? So we spent a lot of time putting all our assets on the table. What does Comcast have? What does NBC have? What does Independence have? And it became kind of almost natural to put those together and create something around digital health that we can do together. And we think there's a really thesis question in healthcare that no one's answering, which is, as a patient, what do I do next? So we're going to digitize all that and allow consumers, as they guide through a healthcare journey, to say, hey, what do I do next? Let me check my app, let me check my TV, let me check my computer. And Quil, the company that we launched, is going to be the answer for that.
All right, I want to come back to Quil for a second, but I want to ask Don real quick, what are you guys doing in healthcare? This is a shocker. I mean, it's like you've got a huge company with its fingers in basically everything, but why would you get into this mess?
I think from our perspective, there are a couple of motivators. One, we've actually done a ton of healthcare work internally, actually partnering with Independence with our own benefits universe. Okay. So we have about 200,000 covered lives. We've done all kinds of creative things. And what we've noticed is, as we've done more and more interesting things to make the experience better, the costs have actually been controlled or even in some cases gone down. So one of our natural questions was, hey, wait a second, light bulb, this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Can we take it out more broadly? And then if you combine that with the fact that we have this enormous presence in homes, about a little bit less than 30 million homes in North America, about 75 million people, we really have a vehicle through that kind of point of presence to focus on healthcare on a more personalized basis. And nothing's more personal than the home from our perspective.
Without a doubt. And the trend is that healthcare is moving to the home. I mean, everybody's talking about it as the next battleground, really, for improving people's health. So tell me a little bit about Quil. This is like a totally new venture that you've launched here. So explain to me a little bit about it and like what you're hoping to do with it.
Sure. It is a totally new venture. So Comcast and Independence came together and went in 50-50. So,
okay, so it's a joint venture.
If you think of a joint venture, what we're really trying to move towards a startup, though. We're really trying to, no pun on words here, but break it free from an independent standpoint. So it's gonna run on its own. Had to throw that in there. So essentially, this company, it's going to have its own CEO, its own leadership team. It already has its own development team. And the idea here is to take this almost highway of guided healthcare journey and build that solution set so people know that, again, they have this, what do I do next? I can get the answer. Or maybe I'm in a treatment path and maybe I got to get to another solution. We also think we can power other solutions that maybe are just looking for people to get there. We think we can be a resource to guide people to the right solution as well.
Okay, so I love this analogy that you keep going back to, and we were talking before the interview about how it's like a superhighway, and it's like you're basically giving people the opportunity to like get off the road if they need to. So if they need some diabetes care or something else to manage chronic heart condition or something like that, they can get off, take care of what they need to take care of, visit the services that are off that off ramp, and maybe you built them, maybe you didn't, and then get back on. That's kind of how you're watching this, or what the plan is, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, what we have, so it's a startup very much, but it is a startup that can draw on the resources of the parents. It's not which is not just capital, but our asset base. And what we think we've got is enormous scale. Through Independence, we have a great positioning with the Blues Association. Through Comcast, we've got a direct connection to customers, and then partnerships with the other cable providers that expands that out even further. That's enormous scale. So we've got this scale. We believe that we can build the infrastructure of an ecosystem, a marketplace, and then what we can do is, as you think about that highway example and getting off, the off-ramps for whatever is necessary, maybe we build some of that, but maybe we partner to get there, and we think we're well positioned to do that. We don't have to have a lock on innovation. We can create, and we don't think we do. But what we do have, we think is, we kind of know it when we see it, and we can create the environment where really innovative partners can come to the mix and then provide their services through our platform.
Okay, so I mean, as far as sourcing those services, I have a lot of startups who watch that are probably like, oh my God, like taking copious notes here. So I mean, what kinds of things are you looking for, and how do you plan on sourcing those? Because I mean, you said you're not going to build everything yourselves. You might, but you may bring things in. So when you're looking for these point solutions to put on the exits of the superhighway, what are you looking for?
Yeah, I think if you think about healthcare, we really think there's three kind of distinct possibilities that someone's in a journey. They're either healthy, so what are solutions that people around fitness, et cetera, have? There's episodic journeys, right? So I'm going through something like an orthopedic procedure, right? It's pretty staged, so maybe someone has nailed that. Or there's chronic, right? There's diabetes, right? There's a chronic condition. If people have solutions out there that have proven ROI results to actually drive down costs, because ultimately that's what we're trying to do. It's 18% of the GDP for healthcare here. We need to drive down costs. So if they have solutions that they think are having provable ROI, we're open for business to talk to them. And I wouldn't say we're prescriptive around you have to fit this box. I think we want something that really can be somewhat groundbreaking in giving a patient a really superior experience, because we're going to be about that. We think the experience has to be magnetic, but it also has to drive down costs.
I want to hear from both of you on this last question. So, I mean, we've been seeing in healthcare, like in the industry, these partnerships between healthcare companies and then consumer companies. It's been like the thing to do the last like year and a half, right? I mean, so it's like the Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan. I mean, there's that, and then there's CVS, Aetna. I mean, like there's partnerships all over the place. And in fact, here at this conference, you're going to be sitting on a panel with other partnerships. This is cool that we're marrying these two worlds, because as far as like the patient or the health consumer journey, it is all blended. So what do you guys think, though, that you guys can bring to the table through Quil that's going to be different from some of these other partnerships between healthcare companies and consumer businesses? I'm going to ask you first. Put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. We're not trying to do anything that we can't do, right? So we're trying to stay in our lane and make sure that we're not trying to break new grounds. We're trying to use the assets and the things we know today, so we know how to manage medical costs. That's the history of our business. For 80 years, Independence Blue Cross has been doing that. So we're going to bring that expertise there, but we also know that there's some friction in the healthcare experience. People aren't happy. So we know that we need to partner with someone to get those assets. Why not literally look across the street in Philadelphia? That is exactly where Comcast is, across the street from Independence. Literally, they have owned digital assets and they are owning the consumer space. It's such a natural partnership. It actually, to Don's point, when the light bulb went off, it wasn't, why are we doing this? Why haven't we done this? So that's where we're at, and we're thrilled about the partnership, because we're not doing things we don't know how to do. That's Comcast world. They're bringing that expertise.
All right, for you guys, I mean, like, what do you see as the thing that because this is a new world then for you, I mean, more or less, right? So, I mean, why, like, what do you, and you're looking around, I'm sure, and, at the landscape and looking at these other pairings that are happening. And so how do you see what you have to bring to the table as different? How are you going to be differentiated in healthcare partnered up with independents?
Well, the first start is actually the partnership with independents. We know what we know, and I'll talk a little bit about what we think we know about being a consumer company. We also know what we don't know, and that's the healthcare industry and all the subject matter expertise that involves, and that's why the partnership with independents was such a natural. So we think, that partnership, our consumer focus, their healthcare expertise, the combination of the two, and there's overlap, by the way, mostly they're very good consumer-wise. I don't think we're very good from a healthcare perspective, but we have done some experimentation around it, as I was talking about before, so that's nice. From the consumer perspective, Comcast has been engaged in a broad sort of restructuring of our own company with a consumer-first focus, and we've had this dramatic impact to the NPS score, that Net Promoter Score that tracks the company over the last 10 years, and that's been Brian Roberts, our CEO's mission. His mission is to sort of take us from an old school cable company into being a state-of-the-art sort of best amongst equals company focused on the consumer experience. If we could solve the problem with cable entertainment delivery, which we think we're in the process of doing, we've learned a lot about how the consumer works, about engagement. We've taken pieces of the NBC piece, which is really how do you engage with a consumer in a really dramatic and impactful way, and bring that to creating an overall experience, sort of both engaging, eliminating the friction of the experience, and then getting into the people's homes. I'd say those are the sort of three things we bring to it. The engagement piece, we've got a lot of NBC people working on this project, the eliminating friction in the consumer experience piece, and then of course the presence in the homes and the technology that enables that.
I'm so glad that you said that too about the Net Promoter Score. Thanks for bringing that up. I mean, no, and I'm glad that you addressed it, and I think you addressed it beautifully because, I mean, it's something I think that everybody's wondering, and I'm glad that you kind of spoke about that. So thank you guys so much, I mean, for sharing what's going on. I mean, it's really cool. I mean, it's an exciting partnership. We look forward to seeing what comes out of it. We'll be watching Quil with eagle eyes. Can't wait. Thanks so much, you guys, for joining me. I'm Jessica DaMassa, WTF Health here at AHIP's Consumer Experience and Digital Health Forum. Thanks for joining us.